Hey guys, and welcome to A Dad Surviving Divorce. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about not taking the bait. What I mean by that, when you're going through your divorce and things start getting a little stressful and agitated, there are times that things are going to happen and you're basically going to be being baited to respond. Part of that is you're going through your own anger and frustration, and your ex is going through the same thing. And there's going to be a lot of animosity, a lot of hurt feelings, and stuff like that. And the one thing you really have to remember is your ex, unless you've been together a really short amount of time, knows a lot about you and is going to know a little bit of how you work, how you think, how you tick, and that gives them, well, it gives both of you. I mean, you could actually do the same thing, but it gives them the ability to basically, in a passive aggressive way, to prod you into responding, or not to responding, to respond. Now, what I mean by this is certain things can happen. Typically, they're going to be at an inopportune time. Now, an example that I can remember that happened with me, and it was early on. It was like maybe the first month into the separation, and I was going through transferring services, getting my own house set up, and I was trying to do it in a constructive way to where it really minimized the impact for my ex. I didn't transfer the service from the house to the new house and stuff like that. I made sure that everything stayed the same for her. And what happened in this particular situation, it had to do with an electric bill. And I had gotten the kids. Now, keep in mind, at this point in the separation and the divorce, my visitation was pretty limited. I basically had them every other weekend with a couple of dinner visits during the week. That's kind of what we agreed on at the beginning. And then obviously when things started degrading, that changed, and all the other little nuances that happen started happening. But that's really irrelevant. What I'm talking about is you need to mentally prepare yourself for the possibility that you're going to get baited into responding. Now, in this particular situation that I'm talking about, I had the kids, and it had to do with, I think it was an electric bill or something like that. And, money's really tight. I'm trying to support both houses, trying to make the best of the situation. And so I have the kids with me, and I basically get, I think it was a text saying, hey, the electric bill's in, you owe like $300. Now, I wasn't there, hadn't lived there for a couple of weeks, and hadn't really been there prior to that. Plus, I'd set everything up, and I was giving her money to survive. And I was like, no, that's your bill. I have my bill, you have your bill. She's like, no, it's your bill. Now, what I mean by baiting is, okay, so I had the kids with me. She was able to, with the kid, basically I got played. The kids were there. I got really angry, responded in a way that wasn't really appropriate, especially around the kids, and had a conversation with her over the phone that was highly inappropriate, was counterproductive, and it didn't accomplish anything. It made me mad. I don't know if it made her mad. I have no idea. It made the kids super upset. I've even heard about this story from my kids before. It was a changing point because primarily we never fought. I wasn't really into, neither one of us really fought a lot. So we never really fought around the kids. So this was the first time that the kids actually saw anger in that regard. And it was really just a bad idea all the way around. Now, okay, so what's the point? The point is you need to mentally prepare yourself for the possibility that those type of situations are going to happen. And it can be anything from dealing with timeshares, dealing with bills and money, dealing with custody arrangements, whatever. if your divorce starts going negative, and if the dynamic changes, then you really have to just accept that. You're not going to like it. It's probably not going to be what you really wanted to have happen or what you hoped. Well, you're definitely not going to hope it happens. But if it does happen, the sooner that you can get a handle on that and basically accept it, the better prepared you're going to be, or the better you'll be able to prepare yourself to not fall for the bait. There are numerous occasions over the first couple of years where I would fall for the bait. Something would come up and a button would be pushed, and it would set me off. Not so much like that particular incident that I was just telling you about with the electric bill. That one wasn't one of my better moments. But nonetheless, those situations, they get under your skin, they make you angry, they make you have an emotional flashback or an emotional trigger to the situation that's just really incredibly frustrating. So if you're expecting that, if you are like, okay, my situation or my divorce or my separation is turning into this, and you know it, you can take a step back, give yourself some breathing room, and allow yourself to not take the bait. I mean, basically that's the whole point of this particular video, is to get you to take a step back, see what's going on, and alter the way you respond. Now, it's easy. I mean, guys, it's super easy for me to say that. I mean, it's easier said than done, and I get it. I absolutely get it. I still, as I've said in other videos, I still have situations where something will be an emotional trigger for me, and I'll get that initial just flash to anger. But as time has progressed, I've been able to basically control it. I can have that flare up and be like, okay, I see what's going on, and take a step back and get myself under control, because nothing good comes from it. It's not good. And depending on who you're dealing with, certain people, depending on the way they're wired and what their personal agendas are, just want to do that. It's part of the game to keep you guessing and keep you on your toes. And it's kind of frustrating. And the really hard part about it, so this is kind of what happened for me, is there a period of time where I'm like, okay, these things would happen, and they would be incredibly, emotionally frustrating and emotionally triggering. And then things would change, and I'm like, okay, well, all right, so maybe we finally gotten through that stage, and it's no more. The problem for me in my situation, and you may be dealing with the exact same thing, is, okay, so I would say, oh, okay, all right, so things have, we're finally going to start co-parenting, and we're going to start communicating. So we'd start going down that road, but it was really just a ploy to basically get me to start trusting again, to start, thinking, okay, maybe things are going in a different way, and then it would go right back the way it was. I mean, there would be, and what I mean by that is like, okay, we're trying to be cooperative, and it's like, hey, I'm trying to remember, okay, oh, this is a good one. I had my youngest daughter was in soccer, and it's like, hey, she wants to play soccer. I've signed her up. You don't have to take her, but do you want to take her? And she wouldn't. It was like, nope, you can't do that. That's illegal. That's, you can't do that unless I say so, and I haven't said so. Whatever. It was, stuff like that. So if you're dealing with somebody like that, the sooner that you realize that, well, let's see. I think what I would say on it is, sometimes people do things because they're maliciously doing it, right? They're intentionally sitting back and trying to figure out how to do certain things, to push your buttons or whatever. Then I think there's some people who aren't necessarily doing it on purpose. I mean, they're doing it, but it's not, maybe it's not so well thought out that they're doing it because they're trying to do something towards you. It's mainly about them. And what I mean by that is there were a period of time, there was multiple times where something would happen and I'm like, oh, okay. So logically, I'd work it out through my head. Logically, this is happening because, you know, she's mad and she's doing this to get back at me, you know, and stuff like that. What I think I've come to realize over the years is really, I didn't have a lot to do with it. And really, neither did the kids. It was all basically about her and what she was thinking and going through and what made her happy. And if that decision that she would make would basically cause me a problem, that was kind of, I like to call like gift with purchase. You know, it's like, hey, you buy this thing and you get this, you know, you get this little gift with it. So that doesn't mean that they're not still going to try to bait you on stuff. And it's certain people who have that type of personality, that's kind of what they'll do. They'll do things not necessarily to get back at you. It's primarily focused on them, but it still can be baiting, and it still can be triggering, and it could still cause an emotional response in you, and it can cause an emotional response in your kids. So, what my advice for you on this, my advice is, you know, let me back up for a second. In the initial stages, some of this is understandable, right? I mean, you know, you're going through, you know, divorces aren't fun. I mean, nobody's like, hey, I'm having a divorce today. Congratulations. You know, I mean, it's not like that. So one of the things, so, you know, in the beginning, whenever you guys are fighting and stuff like that, and you're trying to posture for you know, support and all that kind of stuff, and like I've said in other videos, I mean, your going in position and her going in position are going to be completely two different things. You know, everyone's basically going to be trying to get what they get, not trying to get the most that they can get. The really odd part, and I've kind of mentioned this before, you know, on the main wage earner person, you know, typically you're probably thinking, hey, you know, I've been working, you know, the relationship is dissolved, it's gotten to a point, okay, well, we're going to go our separate ways, but, you know, you need to actually start stepping up and being responsible and stuff like that as well. So, you know, it makes it tough, because if that's the case and you're thinking that your little pile of money or big pile of money or whatever it happens to be is yours. And yeah, okay, you know, there's a fair amount that should be for her, but, you know, she should get a job and she should do some things and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work that way. I mention that mainly just because, you know, I think the sooner you kind of get a grasp on that and realize that the finances are going to be really tough, you know, the better it'll help you emotionally deal with some of this stuff. And that also means some of those, not triggers, some of those baited situations are going to be less effective, because if you've already kind of come to terms with it, and then when certain things happen, you just kind of roll with it. You know, and in full disclosure, I still have issues with that. I mean, there's some situations that just came up recently where it's kind of like, I'm thinking in my head, man, you know, I mean, it would really be nice if this person would actually get a job and start contributing and help pay for some of these bills. Or actually, I mean, technically she is paying her part of the bills. There's a story with that we'll go through in a later time. But whenever your paycheck is being divided up to support two different households over a long period of time, and you're not really seeing anything from your ex to try to get a job or do anything to basically enter the workforce, it can be really frustrating. And then when these other bills come up, that's really frustrating as well. So I guess what I'm saying on that is, so I'm still dealing with some of those things where when situations happen, I'm a little, you know, I initially go to that little frustrated, angry part. But as I've said before, you know, with time, I've been able to see that happen, recognize that that's happening and take a step back, slow myself down, and not have it dominate, my mood or my day and stuff like that. So, okay, so back on these triggers. Now, these triggers can be not triggers. The bait, which when I say triggers and bait, they're kind of interchangeable because whenever you're baited, you're going to have a trigger response to it. It can be on all kinds of different things. It can be just whenever your ex decides, hey, this is the way it's going to be. And you might be going, actually, the divorce paperwork says something different, so no. But then you have to get into that. You have to respond. You have to deal with it, and you have to basically set your own. You have to set boundaries to protect yourself, to protect your kids, and to protect your sanity during all of this. So, okay, to try to wrap this up, the main point that I want you to think about is when you're going through this and your anxiety level is really high and your stress is really high, be really cautious whenever you're trying to deal with things, because a lot of those things can be just emotional bait that just sets you off. And sometimes that's the purpose of it. Sometimes when those things happen, it's to get a response out of you. It's to get you angry. It's to get you off kilter. It's to make you, not think straight. Unfortunately, a divorce it can be like a big game. You got your two sides. They're both trying. They're in it to win it, and for you personally going through it, it's not a game. I mean, this is your life. This is your future. This is your your past, present, and future all rolled into one. And it's not something that you just take lightly. And it makes it really tough because it's not something to where whenever you do it, it's like, well, okay, all right, that's over. Move on. Yeah, we won, we lost, whatever. I mean, there is an implication, and there's a long end tail to that you're going to have to deal with. In future videos, I'm going to talk a little bit about what you need to think about when you're trying to finalize your divorce and what you put in your divorce paperwork. Because I know, just quickly, I made some mistakes thinking that things would calm down and didn't think that there was a real need to put certain things in there, or things were were more vague than they not that they needed to be, than they should have been, because later on down the line, if communication is still broke down, if you're not co-parenting, if it's still a hostile situation, you really need that to help make sure that you have basically a framework in place that's going to help you take care of your kids. Anyways, so on that, bottom line, when you're going through situations like this and you're having to interact with your ex either via a text message, telephone call, or even in person, just kind of mentally prepare yourself. I would say if it's really tense in the beginning, put yourself on guard whenever you enter those interactions, and just really try to stop yourself and stop and think before you react. Okay, so on that, I hope this was helpful. I know this whole process is a really tough process. As I've said before, you're not alone in this. A lot of people have gone through it. I've gone through it. I'm still going through some of it. We're all at different stages of this. Some of us are farther along. Some of us are just starting out. But nobody has gone through this and enjoyed it. You might enjoy being out of a situation that maybe isn't healthy for you and your kids. That's a good part. I mean, sometimes you just have to look and find where you can find little nuggets of joy or the benefit in this situation. For instance, what I mean by that, for me, I don't regret where I'm at. Every time I look at it, and even if it's a bad day, it's like, okay, at least I've gotten out of that situation, and I have an opportunity to have my life back, to have a future, to have a better relationship with my kids, to have a better me. I mean, basically be a better person, or be the person that I want to be, and pursue and achieve the goals that I want to work towards. And primarily my goals are trying to help my kids and giving them a good foundation to not make the same mistakes that I've made. Okay, so on that, try to keep yourself calm and grounded. If you are in a situation where it's emotionally triggering and you feel like you're being baited, just recognize that. Just say to yourself, in your back, you don't have to say it out loud, but just say to yourself, I'm being baited right now. Okay, so take a deep breath. Say, okay, just slow yourself down. Don't take the bait. Ignore it. If it's something that's really trying to change the dynamics of the way the situation, if it doesn't state in the court paperwork, then just ignore it. If you're dealing with attorneys, just let your attorney deal with it. I know that costs money in that 10-minute increment thing I've talked about before, but you have to give yourself the time and space to really deal with this stuff and really heal from it. And falling into or taking the bait doesn't help that. It sets you back. Okay, so on that, if you like this video, if it helped you out, give it a thumbs up or like it. If you like the information that's in this thing, please subscribe to the channel. I've said this before. It helps Google and YouTube to rank everything so that other people who are going through the same thing can find it. And hey, guys, you're like I've said this before. You're gonna get through this. It's not fun, but you're gonna get through this, and the life you're gonna have on the other side is gonna be a lot better. You just have to keep yourself calm and grounded. Make sure you don't make any mistakes along the way that really set you back. And even if you do, you can recover. It just takes a little bit more time and effort. So even if you've made mistakes, just start taking some of this stuff and taking a step back and get yourself and your emotions under control, and you'll be okay. So on that, hey, thanks for watching the video. Really appreciate it. Take care, be good to yourself. Take a deep breath, and you're going to be okay. All right, guys, thanks. See you on the next one.